It's time for another verb of the day. Today's verb is break. Let's look at a few definitions. The first is to separate or cause to separate into pieces as a result of a blow, shock, or strain. A second meaning for break is to fail to observe a law, regulation, agreement, or something else. And a third meaning for break is to suddenly become public. So this definition relates to news. You might, if you watch local news, occasionally see something described as breaking news. Okay? Break is an irregular verb. To make the progressive, all we need to do is add ing, but the past and participle forms have totally different spellings and pronunciations. The past tense form is broke, and the participle form is broken. Let's look at some phrasal verbs next. Now, I want to offer a disclaimer that this is not all the meanings that exist or all the phrasal verbs for break, but I tried to pick out some of the more common ones you might hear or read. The first we're going to look at is break down. You're going to notice we have two very different meanings for this phrasal verb. The first meaning is to stop working or fail to work. Here it is in an example sentence. The car broke down yesterday. A second meaning for broke down is to lose control of one's feelings. So this implies there might be crying, wailing, but someone, this is not really a happy thing. This has a rather negative meaning to it, and you can see that in our example sentence. He broke down when he heard about his father's death. Another phrasal verb you might hear is break even, and it means you're reaching a point where the profits, the money you're making, equals the cost. So you might hear this sometimes with business or sort of any operation where someone's trying to make money. So here it is in an example. If we sell $100 worth of things, then we'll break even. Another phrasal verb you might hear is break in, and it can mean to enter a building illegally. So, in an example sentence, many burglars break in late at night. Break off could mean to cause something to come apart. Here it is in an example sentence. She broke off pieces of chocolate to share. The final phrasal verb we're going to look at is break up. And there are three very different meanings that you might hear again or read. The first meaning for break up is to cause to come to an end. So here in an example sentence, the teachers broke up the fight. So maybe imagine a few kids fighting, right? And the teachers are separating the fighting students. A second meaning for breakup is to finish or end a relationship. We might describe people who at one time were dating but no longer are in this way. They have broken up many times before. A third meaning for breakup means to be unable to hear due to interference. You might hear this phrasal verb when you're talking to someone on a cell phone. So let's look at that in an example sentence. Someone might say, I can't hear you. You're breaking up. Can you call me back later? Right? So it's meaning the audio is not clear. I'm not able to understand what's happening. There might be static, that sound in the background, making it hard for me to comprehend what's being said. Let's look at using break in a few different verb tenses. This week, we're going to go back and continue to practice active tense verbs because, again, it's more common to hear and see those when you're reading. Today, let's look at the simple past, simple present, and present progressive. We'll start with the past tense. Again, break is irregular, so we're going to use the past tense broke in affirmative sentences. It doesn't matter if our subject is singular, so he, she, it, or if it's I, you, we, or they. Here is an example sentence. He broke his leg last year. And to make the negative in simple past tense, we're going to use did not and then the base verb. Okay? Here's an example sentence. He didn't break the good news until after dinner. This sentence relates back to the third definition we discussed earlier in this video about breaking news. Okay? And finally, if we want to make a question in the simple past, we need to change the order. So move did to the front, then we'll have our subject, and then the base verb. Did Mary and John break up? Okay. Next, let's look at the simple present. And in the simple present, we're describing habits, routines, facts. Let's look at, I have two sample sentences here because there is one sort of small trick with the simple present. The first sentence is, the children break a toy at least once per week. Okay? That is their habit, their routine. They're playing just too hard with something. Okay? In the simple present, if our subject is he, she, or it, we need to add an S to the base verb. So that you can see that, I have another example. Right? Instead of having children, plural, what if we just had one child? The child breaks a toy at least once per week. Okay? If we want to make the negative in simple present, we're going to use does not with our subjects he, she, and it. And then with our subjects I, you, we, and they, we'll use do not. Okay? And then our base verb. Here's an example sentence. She doesn't break her promises. This goes back to that second meaning we discussed earlier in the video. Finally, if we want to make a question in the simple present, depending on our subject, we'll use do or does, then our subject, and then the base verb. Here's a question in the simple present. Do your home appliances break down often? Finally, let's look at present progressive. To make the present progressive, we're going to use a present form of be, so that's am, is, or are. And then we're going to add ing to our base verb. Here's an example in the affirmative. He is breaking the law by driving over the speed limit. Okay? Again, that goes back to that second definition we discussed earlier today. In the negative, we need to add not after our be verb. Here's an example of that. They aren't breaking the stay-at-home orders. Okay. That would also kind of go back to our second meaning of breaking a rule, a law, something to that effect. Finally, if we want to make a question in the present progressive, we're going to move be to the front of the sentence, then we'll have our subject, and then the ing form of the verb. Is she breaking down from stress? That's our phrasal verb about someone losing control of their emotions. Okay. Finally today, let's talk about a few related words to our verb of the day, break. And the first one you're going to notice is just a noun of the same spelling and same pronunciation. A break could be a few different things. It could be a brief rest from work, a very popular form of break. So that's my first example sentence there. I get 2 breaks during each shift. Okay? A break could also be an interruption of something that is continuing, or an interruption of something that is uniform, something you expect. It could also be a gap or an opening. These definitions are sort of illustrated in the second example sentence I have here. There will be a break in the rain. So maybe it starts raining earlier in the morning. There is a brief time where it stops raining in the early afternoon, and then it starts raining and continues raining the rest of the day. So that's our interruption. Another noun that you might hear is breakthrough. It is a sudden, dramatic, and important discovery or development. So my example sentence connects to something we are all hoping for, I think, right now. Many people are hoping for a breakthrough in the treatment of COVID-19 or coronavirus. The next noun also, unfortunately, might be something you're hearing a great deal in the present, and that is outbreak. It is also a noun, and it means the sudden or violent start of something that is unwelcome. Might be like a war, could be a disease. So again, that's why you might be hearing this word. And you can see that in my example sentence here. There's an outbreak of COVID-19 at a local nursing home. Finally, the last word we're going to look at is an adjective. It's broken, right? You might be thinking, hey, that was the participle, and you're right, it is. And the way we might go about figuring out, is it being used as a participle, or is it being used as an adjective? Looking at what comes before or after the word can be a nice clue. You're going to see in my example sentence here, I have a broken arm. So that signals to me that it's being used as an adjective to describe the noun that follows. So broken just means having been fractured, damaged, something that's no longer in one piece, or something that's no longer working. So, and that is my example sentence there. He had a broken arm. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I hope you'll incorporate the word break into your speaking and writing this week. Feel free to practice making sentences in any verb tense you would like in the comments section. I'll check it out and write back to you. Have a great day.